Okay, now we're going to take a look at Satch Boogie. This is going to be an up-tempo blues boogie shuffle in A. We're going to use a little from the A blues scale, a little A mixolydian, a little A Dorian, and we're even going to have some dominant and diminished arpeggios thrown in there for good measure. So I'm going to play the first section up to speed and then we'll break it down. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm doing a lot with the A string bouncing off to the open A string, starting off with the 3rd fret to the 5th fret, coming back to the notes G to A on the low E string. So once again. Next part, I'm going to move to the A string 3rd fret to the 5th fret, and then I'm going to do a quick hammer-on and pull-off to the 6th, back to the 5th, back to the open A string. And come up and land on the note A on the G string. So far we've done this. Now I'm going to pull off to the open G string, hit the note C on the A string, pull off to the open A string, 4th fret on the A string to the 2nd fret on the G, 5A, 4D, open G, open D, back to the C on the A string, pull off to the open A, and end with G to A on the low E string. Okay, so now we're going to break it down into even smaller bits. The first little bit will be this. So what I'm doing here is starting with the open A string and then kind of bouncing off between the 3rd and the 5th fret on the same string. Coming back to the notes G to A on the low E string. Up to the 3rd fret A string. And then I'm going to do a hammer-on and pull-off between 5, 6, 5, back to the open A string. Come up to the 2nd fret of the G string. And that's our first little segment. Okay, now I'm going to pull off on the G string, get the C on the A string, pull off to the open A string, 4th fret A, 2nd fret G, 5A, 4D, open G, open D, down to the low E string, 2nd fret to the open E string, 3rd fret A string to the open A, ending with G to A, 3rd fret E string, 5th fret. So here's what we just played. And then we do that 2 times in a row. Okay, next part. Okay, so what I'm doing here, it's kind of a takeoff on the intro. I'm going to go to the 3rd fret and the 5th fret on the A string, bounce with the open A string, back down 3 to 2 on the low E, up to the 3rd fret of the A string, to the 5th fret of the A string, pull off to the open A, and then I'm going to play some double stops, 4D, 5G, and slide back a fret, 1/2 step. Again. Next section. So I'm going to bounce off to the open A string from the 5th fret and the 7th fret now. Back to the E string, 5 to 4. And then I'm going to go 5th fret A, 7th fret A to the open A, and quickly jump back to the 3rd fret on the E string, pull off to the open E, and land on the 2nd fret of the D string. So if I put those two sections together, okay, now we're on to the next section. It's going to sound like this. So here we start off like the beginning. And here it gets a little bit different. I'm going to go to the 5th fret on the A and G string, pull off to the open G string. Now I'm going to play a diminished arpeggio, A 6 to 9, D7, G5, coming back to the G string, 8 to 7. Sounds like this. Then I'm going to jump up into 12th position. I'm going to play an E6 chord. So I'm going to play 13 on the G, 14 on the B, 12 on the E, and I'm going to move back a total of 3 half steps, so it's going to have 3 hits. And then I'm going to play an inversion of the same chord. I'm going to take the top 3 strings on the 9th fret, so this is also an E6 chord here, and move back from the 9th to the 8th to the 7th fret. So here's this whole new section we've just learned. One small thing I forgot to mention, before we play this E6 chord, we're going to have the open E string in there. Sets up the rhythm there. So let me play that section one more time. Final section of the intro sounds like this. So here's the entire intro. Okay, now we're into the solos for Satch Boogie. The first solo will be in the key of A. Starts off with a big dive harmonic. Take the tremolo bar with your left hand. Try and catch one in there. And then we're going to be into the actual solo. Sounds like this. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm starting off with a double stop on the G and the B string on the 5th fret. Keeping this mostly A minor pentatonic, so go between the 7th and the 5th fret on the D string. Then I'm going to go back to the G string, 5th fret, pull off to the open G string. Back to the A note on the 7th fret of the D string. Back down to the 5th and end on the A again. So that solo section so far sounds like this. The next part, which sounds like this. I'm coming from the A Dorian scale, okay, so you can keep that in mind when you're learning these notes. I'm going to start off by bending on the B string. I'm bending the note G up to A. Coming back A to F sharp on the B string. And then I play C on the E string back to F sharp. Then I'm going to do a hammer-on and pull-off from 5-7 back to 5 on the high E string. So far we have this. Then I'm going to go to G string, the G note on the B string, 8th fret, back to the A on the 5th fret of the E string, and pivot here with my first finger. So what I've done so far is this. And if I put that with the first section, next section. So that's going to start with a bend on the 7th fret of the G string, and then skipping over the up into the high E string. Coming back down on the B string, 8 to 5. 8, 7, 5 on the G string. That's like the A blues scale. Now I'm going to have something interesting. On the D string, I'm going to play 7, 5 to the open D. And end the phrase with the note C to A. G string, 5th fret, back to the A on the 7th fret of the D string. So, this whole phrase, from the beginning of the solo, sounds like this. Okay, the next section, we're still in A. It's going to sound like this. So I'm going to go between C and D on the A string. Do that 4 times. Back into 5th position. And this is a pretty cool little pentatonic lick, because what I'm doing is I play from C, A, G, back to A. But then I play the A with my 3rd finger, and then I slide into the A with my 1st finger. So, in context, it sounds like this. Ending with G, G, A. Okay, so. Still in A. The next section sounds like this. So what I'm doing here is taking the G string, bending up from 7 to 9. Get a little Johnny Be Good action here. Pivot on the 5th fret from the B to the E. And do that 3 times. On the After 3 times, take the 8th fret of the high E string, bend up a whole step, and then come back off of it and bend up. It's in between a quarter step and a half step. Just kind of add some flavor. Next phrase. This is kind of cool because you're pivoting with your first finger a lot. 5th fret on the E, 5th fret on the B, 8th fret on the B, 5th fret on the G. And then I'm going to pull off to the open G, 5th fret on the D to the open D, 3rd fret of the A to the open A, and then land on the 5th fret. Sounds like this in context. And that's the entire first solo over the A. So I can play the entire solo now. Now we're off to the second solo in Satch Boogie. This is going to be in D Mixolydian, which has all the same notes as G major, for those of you keeping score at home. The first phrase will sound like this. So what I'm doing here is bending on the 14th fret of the high E string up a half step and back, doing that a few times. 3 times to be exact. Coming down an A minor arpeggio, so I have the notes E, C, and A. Sliding on the G string back from 12 to 11. Getting the root note D. So far I've done this. Pivot here with your middle finger back to the G, 12th fret, back to the D, 12th fret. Slide down to the 10th fret on the D. Back up to the 12. And then get the open D string in there. Move down to the 9th fret, and I'm going to take advantage of the open D string for all of these next few notes. I'm going to play the 9th fret of the D string with the open D, 7th fret with the open D, 5th fret with the open D, 4th fret with the open D, and add an extra open D there at the end. So the 4th fret will be here. So in context, it sounds like this. One more time. Next section. So I'm taking the G string on the 5th fret and trying to grab a pinched harmonic 2 times, bending up a whole step, and back down. And then I'm going to play this phrase between the D string and the A string. So I'm playing on the 5th fret and the 4th fret with an open D string in between each of those notes. Down to the A string, 5th fret to the open A string, 3rd fret to the open A, and then coming back up from the 3rd to the 5th. So here's the whole solo for the D chords. Okay, now we're into the third solo, key of F sharp. I'm going to use the F sharp minor scale. The solo actually starts with a scratch with the right hand pick. Just give it one of those, and then I'm going to come in with some legato stuff in F sharp minor. The lick will sound like this. So I'm starting from the 2nd fret, F sharp, sliding up immediately with my first finger into the 4th fret and coming up the F sharp minor scale. Continue F sharp minor on the A string. Back down the scale on the A string. And then from the 4th fret with my first finger, I'm going to slide up to the 5th fret with my first finger and continue ascending the scale. Continue the scale now. I play up to the note F sharp on the A string. Okay, continuing up the scale on the D string now. Because I'm in F sharp minor, I'm going to have to go to the 6th fret, 7th, 9th, and then I'm going to slide to the 11th, all on the D string to end the phrase. So here it is slow. Okay, and then I'm going to catch a pinch harmonic. However you can. They're all in there somewhere. And then I'm going to come back into 2nd position, and here's how the next phrase will sound. So what I'm doing here is I'm bending just up a half step from E, F, and then I grab the F sharp on the 2nd fret of the E string. Pivot with my first finger on the 2nd fret from the high E back down to the B string. Then I get my 4th finger on the 5th fret. And then I'm going to pivot down here to the 5th fret again. I'm going to grab that 5th fret of the B string with my 3rd finger. Coming back up to the 2nd fret, 5th fret, 2nd fret on the high E string. So far I've done this. And now I'm going to pivot with my first finger back down to the 2nd fret on the B string, 5th fret on the B string, bend on the G string, up a full step and back, coming back down to the 2nd fret of the G string, 4th fret of the D to the open D. In context, it sounds like this. And I end the phrase with 2 hits on the 2nd fret of the G string to 1 hit on the 4th fret of the G string. Okay, and that's the solo in F sharp. Okay, now we're back to soloing in A. So, the first part of the solo sounds like this. So what I'm doing here, starting off with the G on the B string going to the A, and I'm going to do that 6 times. Move the G down to F sharp, play that a couple times. And then some old school here, double stop bends, 5th fret on the top 2 strings, 7th fret on the G and the B string. Do that 3 times, followed by pivot on the 5th fret here on the E to the B, 7th fret B, back to the root note A on top. So far we have this. school stuff. I'm just going to bend on the G, 7th fret up a whole step, and then I'm going to play the 5th fret on the B, 5th fret on the E. Do that a couple times, then I'm going to come back down to the G string, down to the note C, back up to D, but here I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to bounce off the D note, 7th fret G string, to the open G string. And then I'm going to go, think pentatonic scale, 5th fret, G string to the open G. Same thing on the D string. And then 5th fret on the A string to the open A. 5th fret on, 3rd fret on the A string. And then I'm going to slide back into the root note A. At the end there, we play the 3rd fret to the 5th fret 2 times. Okay, now we're off to the pick tapping section. It's going to sound like this. So we're still soloing over A. The key is A Dorian. So the notes I'm going to play with my left hand will all be on the G string. All here between the G, F sharp, E, D, and C. And then I'm going to tap the root note A with the side of my pick. And this is followed up with just some harmonics. And then we're just going to play that harmonic in time. With the tremolo bar, and then dive down on the G string, and then dive down on the A string. And that's how this phrase ends. And now we're off to the next solo. Okay, so now we're soloing back over the D. We're going to use a lot of double stops on this section here. I'm going to start with double stops on the 5th fret, G and B, followed by double stops here. Same 2 strings. I'm going to have 7, G, 8, B. Hit that 2 times. And then just move the 8 on the B string back to the 7th fret. Next phrase will be on the 5th fret on the top 2 strings, 2 times here, and then play the 7th fret on only the high E string, and play that 1 time. Then I'm going to play some 6s up here, C on top, E on the bottom. Move that up a whole step. Follow it up with 12 and 12 on the same 2 strings, the G string and the E string. Slide up a whole step. And then I'm going to play a little more aggressively with my right hand, but start off still on the 14th fret on the G and the E. Coming up into 16 on the G, 15 on the E. 17 on the same 2 strings. Moving it up to 19. And then I'm going to end with double stops on the 20th fret on the top 2 strings. So in context. And now we're off to the final solo section, F sharp. So I'm going to start this with a bend here. I'm going to bend B into C sharp. It's going to be up here. I'm going to count these frets. 12, 15, 17, 19th fret. Bend up a whole step and back. Come up to C sharp up here on the 21st fret. Bend that up a step and a half. So I'm going to try and reach E. So come back down into 14th position. The next phrase sounds like this. So this is kind of cool. What I'm doing here is bending on the B string. You can think F sharp minor pentatonic here. Pivot here on the 14th fret with your first finger. Come up to the A with your fourth finger on the E string and get an octave A on the 14th fret of the G string. You keep coming down the pentatonic scale with your first finger, D string, the A string, and then come back and land on the note A on the 12th fret of the A string. Now I'm going to jump back into second position, and this is the final phrase of the solo. Sounds like this. So you can think F sharp blues scale here. I'm going to bend on the G string, 4th fret, bend up a full step, and then jump over and try and catch the E on the 2nd fret. Come back down with your first finger on the B, 2 to 5. Bend on the G string again. Come back down here. We're going to bend. We're going to come back down from the 2nd fret of the E, 5 to 2 on the B, and then bend on the G. So far I've done this. And then I'm going to come down on the B string, 2nd fret, and run down the blues scale. When I get to the 2nd fret of the A string, I'm going to pull off to the open A. And then I'm going to play the note A on the E string, 5th fret, land on the F sharp. Slowly, it sounds like this. Okay, and then I land on the note A, because the chord goes to A, and that's when the big tapping section comes in. So I'll see you in the tapping section. Okay, now we're up to the middle section in Satch Boogie. So this is going to be the big two-handed section. It's all going to be done on the A string, and the basic rhythm, if you can think about 6 notes followed by another 6 notes followed by 4 notes. I think that'll help you out. Here's what I mean. I'm going to start off by tapping on the 12th fret of the A string, my right hand, and then I'm going to go to the 7th fret of the A string, 6th fret, pull off, and then come back up to the 6th to the 7th. And that's the first set of 6 notes. And I do that 2 times. And then I'm going to follow that up with 4 notes. Right hand, followed by the 7th fret, 6th fret to the open string. So 6 plus 6 plus 4. Here's 6, 6, 4. And I do that 2 times. So it may sound a little strange with just the numbers, but when you put it together, it sounds like this. Sounds a little more like the song when I get going up to speed. A little strange, slow, but that's how you have to start practicing. And faster. Okay, so once you have that basic pattern, then we're just going to move to different places on the fretboard. So after we have It's all on the A string. So after we have 6, 7, and 12, we're going to move to 9, 12, 15. And that's going to be followed by 8, 10, and 17. And then I'm going to come down here to the 12th fret, and it's going to be a little bit different here. So here I'm going to have 12, 7, 5, pull off to the open A. And then I'm going to climb up with my left hand, 6, 8, and then go to 13 with my right hand. Same thing here, climb up one more fret. And I keep going until I get to the 8th fret, 10th fret, and 15th fret. So here's that little section again. And then I come back down. Oh, a little confusing. Let me play it in context. So from the beginning, we've done this. Okay. You with me so far? Okay, good. The next part, I'm going to start off the same, 6, 7, and 12. 9, 12, 15. Now we're going to go to 8, 10, 17. Now we're going to go to 9, 11, 16. Followed by 8, 10, 15. 14, 8, 5. Followed by 7, 8, 11. So let me put that next section together for you. Okay. Now the kick drum is going to come in, so we're off to the final section here of this tapping section. I'm going to go all the way up to 10, 12, 17. And then I'm going to move to 11, 12, 16. Repeat that. And now it's going to be slightly different. I'm going to start off with that 6 plus 6 plus 4. And then I'm going to move my right hand up a whole step, 2 frets, and play the 6. And jump back to finish the 6 and the 4. Okay, so I'll say that again. I'm going to play the 6, 6, plus the 4. Move my right hand up to play a 6. Back down 6 notes. And then 4. In context, sounds like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing between the 11th, 12th, and the 16th. And then I'm going to move my right hand up to the 18th. Okay, so far what I've done here in this final section is this. Done. Now we go back to 10, 12, 17. And then I'm just going to move my right hand down 1 fret, and I'm going to play the 6, 6, 4. And I end with 16 to 12. So that's the final phrase. And that's the final phrase. Play it again. And that's the tapping section. I'm going to play the entire tapping section now, all the way through. Okay, here we go.